All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the German CI curriculum framework. There's going to be a lot that I'm going to cover. I'm going to do as best as I can to do so in a comprehensive way. But as Justin was saying, please email us, reach out to us with questions. We're more than happy to answer anything you have and further discuss the content and help you kind of understand the platform. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get started. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, everyone should be able to see my screen. If not, please do feel free to unmute yourself or let us know in the chat.
We can see it. It's all showing.
Good. Thank you, Lorena. So as Erin mentioned in kind of the intro this morning, we're going to talk about who the series is for, what a typical unit looks like, some of the key resources, my favorite resources personally, and how to pace the curriculum, or just tips on how to pace the curriculum. So the German CI curriculum framework is going to provide a strong foundation for language learning development, and it's perfect for customization. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to get a really good foundation that you can build off of based off of your needs and the needs of your classroom. The curriculum is ideal for middle school and high school students, and you'll notice that it's essentially built around the themes and sub-themes for the AP exam. Now, we recognize that your students may not be taking the AP exam or don't have the intention to do so, but it's important that they start that critical thinking for some of those larger overarching themes early on. So we'll start real simple in the beginning and we'll build and build and build. For grades 6 through 12 roughly, so again, middle and high school. And because the German curriculum framework goes from levels 1 to 4, you're going to be given material for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. A typical unit, specifically units in levels 1 and 2, I'll refer to those two levels in this presentation just because that seems to be just kind of what we're starting with. But obviously, as you can imagine, levels 3 and 4, which are more advanced, will be slightly different, right? So in levels 1 and 2, you're going to have 5 stories per unit. There's 6 units per level, and a level is designed to be used throughout the school year. So let's think about level 1 as year 1, level 2, year 2, et cetera, et cetera. Within those stories, you're going to be given key structures or key vocab. And that key vocab will build as you go through the level. So in the first story, you may have key structures like I am, or a pencil, or the school. And you'll build and build on that vocab in the stories. They'll become more complex. Well, complex is maybe not the word to use for level 1, but they'll become more detailed as you grow, and the students will continue to build that vocabulary and that comprehension. We have 3 comprehension activities per story. The essential questions are going to link to those overarching AP themes, that critical thinking that I talked about, and I'll show you those in just a moment. Our cultural content section is going to include our World of Photos activities, where students will analyze a photo that depicts a cultural aspect of the German-speaking world. The panoramas, where the students can see a panoramic view of a historical site, or perhaps a cultural element. The native speaker interviews, these are really popular. The native speaker interviews are where native German speakers from Austria, Switzerland, Germany, the German-speaking world, will talk about their lives, so the students can get used to hearing those different accents and those native speaker in their native tongue. The end of unit review is going to be a culmination of what the students have learned in that unit. And the can-dos and integrated performance assessments, or the IPAs, are going to be kind of your chapter tests, and the can-dos are going to be a way for the student and you as a teacher to track their progress and how they're doing. Again, I'll show you those in just a moment in the title. So as you can see here, this is going to be the visual example of what a unit in level 1 looks like in the Voces platform. So you have your short stories. We actually have a bonus long story in Unit 1, but that won't be the case in all the units, but we do have a bonus one in Unit 1, and that cultural content as well. Can-dos. Oh, was someone trying to say something? No? Okay. Right. The key resources. So let me just exit really quick out of this slideshow. I'm going to go into the title, and I want to give you a better visual of what you can expect from the German CI curriculum framework. I'm going to go into Unit 1 of Level 1. Now, for our key resources, something that you should really make sure you're aware of are the themes and essential units and the grammar sequence. Now, obviously, with the comprehensible input-based structure here, we're not going to focus on your traditional grammar-heavy language learning approach, right? But we have to acknowledge that grammar is important, and with German, you're looking at a different type of grammar set, right? This isn't what we're specifically used to for English learners or Spanish learners as well. Let's take a look at that grammar sequence. The grammar sequence at the beginning of each level is going to tell you where in that level, so in what units and also in what stories, different grammar topics will be approached. So that will help you as the teacher as well identify, ooh, this is a good unit for me to bring up the future tense. I have some material I used from my previous year, and I can use it for a lesson plan in this section. For the themes and essential questions, again, this is going to demonstrate to you or identify which AP themes and sub-themes are being approached and what essential questions for critical thinking are going to be asked in those different units. All right, let's take a look really quick at one of the stories. All right, I've got 10 more minutes, trying to keep track of time. So I'm going to show you the story page for story 1 in Unit 1. As you can see, the vocab is pretty simple, pretty structural bones here, our key structures. When you click on the icons next to our vocabulary words or key structures, you're going to get audio. You'll also have audio of all of the stories. Again, here's our story. Now, this is more a paragraph than a story, but for a student, you have to understand the impact that they get from understanding, wow, I was able to read this much text in week 1 of German 1. It's really empowering for the student, and it helps them build that confidence that makes them more excited to continue learning the target language. We've got illustrations for some of the stories, and here you can see an example, a very small example, but still a really great example of a grammar topic being approached. These are kind of our little tips that we include, not a full grammar page, but just something to kind of catch your attention, catch a student's attention and say, hey, you might have noticed something in this story. Let's talk about it a little bit. All right, let me head back to the PowerPoint. So, all right, let's see, it's gonna load. So the core resources, as I've been saying, are going to be those key structures, the stories, the activities that follow, those grammar notes and lessons, and the cultural content. Again, this is another example of some of those grammar notes, what they might look like. And as you can imagine, they do become more complex as you build through the levels and through the units. Again, another example, some screenshots here of a typical story. This is going to be short story number 4 from Unit 1, and then the accompanying vocabulary. Some of my favorite resources, and again, I'm going to take you out of the slideshow and we're going to go into the section here. I really like our extra section, the World in Photos activities. So these are going to be activities where you have an image or a photograph of a cultural site, something very specific culturally to that country. You're going to have a short description. You're going to have some can-dos at the top to track the student's development of learning in that section. And you're going to have an interpersonal speaking activity where the student will hear questions in the target language from a native speaker and then respond to those questions. And something to note really quick, anything that's going to be outlined in yellow, that's the teacher only content, so only the teachers can view that and access that content. Something else that I'd like to point out for for level 1 of German is the supplemental activities, Let's German Together. So this is a really great packet of additional resources and activities that was put together by our brilliant story writer and brilliant activity creator, Eric Richards and Kathleen Weigelt Ferguson. So as you can see, you're going to have additional activities that will just test some of those basic things that students at level 1 will want to know. You'll go through almost a plethora of basically endless activities here. You could probably spend a whole semester doing all of these, but it really is just meant to be supplemental. And I think for students that perhaps are struggling in the beginning, you need to wrap their head around the basics. This is really great. It's also really great for that mid-year review. So it really is a wealth of activities and extra activities in that section. Something else you'll notice is we do have a reader or a novel included in the title. This is amazing for that summer reading. It could also be used for winter break reading. We have audio that goes with that. So I personally, because again, storytelling is something I'm really passionate about, and obviously what the curriculum framework is based on, we always highly encourage our teachers to take a look at the novels that are included as well. You'll also get this wonderful appendix, and my favorite resource in the appendix is the level 3 and 4 interview questions. So these are going to help the student get comfortable speaking in the target language about things that they're passionate about, things that they like, talking about themselves. And if you've ever attended one of Erica's wonderful sessions about neuroscience and how the brain and language learning are connected, you'll know that getting students to talk about themselves is a great way of getting them to retain that language knowledge and getting them excited about speaking in the target language. All right, let's head back to our structure. I think I have a few more minutes left. I want to make sure I cover everything. When we're talking about pacing, okay, so I know this can be kind of a head twister. With pacing, we do have supporting documents that can help you understand how pacing works best for you. So we have Unit 1 pacing guides for each of the levels in German. Those are available on our website. If I have time, I'll take you there. So it's on our website under supporting documents within the German CI section. Those pacing guides will give you an idea of how you could structure your lesson plans for the first 4 weeks, right? And then you can just build on that and replicate that lesson plan structure if it works for you. But again, it's ultimately what's best for you and your students and the pace that they're learning at. I think the most important thing to remember is that the stories are going to be key, the key structures are key, and probably those comprehension activities that make sure they're fully absorbing what's introduced in those stories. The scope and sequence, what is that? Well, scope and sequence is a document that's going to detail the grammar that's introduced, the structures that are introduced, and the themes that are introduced in each of those units. So it's a really great supporting document that your department head probably would want to see. It gives you that overview of the themes that are covered, what topics, and what's going to align with the benchmarks for your classroom. Again, this curriculum framework is customizable. It's perfect to use alongside materials that you have really enjoyed using in the past and that you want to continue using, as well as developing different class projects. Because each unit has so many different cultural topics that are approached, you can have a really fun time getting creative with the class project. And because we're talking about more than just Germany, we're talking about the whole German-speaking world, the opportunities are basically endless for what you could do. All right, I think I have 3 more minutes. That's exciting. I am just going to really quickly say before I show you some of the documents, please, as I mentioned previously, reach out to myself. I have my email here. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Please reach out to info@vocesdigital.com. We are always happy to answer any questions you have about the content, about using the platform, doing a walkthrough. There is also going to be a question and answer session today at 1 p.m. There will be one tomorrow as well, and Thursday. And please complete the daily survey. I don't have it accessible right now, I should. But Lorena, if you don't mind putting that in there, sorry, I should have copied and pasted that earlier. This is all really helpful to us. Obviously, your feedback is of the utmost importance to us. It really helps us further shape our content, our curriculum to make sure it meets the needs of you and your classroom. So with that being said, let me really quickly show you the pacing guide and the scope and sequence so you have a visual of that, if that's all right. Okay, so I am now on the Voces digital website. I'm looking at the German CI curriculum framework, and I'm going under supporting documents, and I'm going to take a look at the pacing guide for level 1, unit 1. And once it loads, when it loads, okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to scroll past all this, but please do read that in your free time if you'd like to. Okay. So we've got a chart here that's going to give you, based off of minute by minute or intervals of minutes, how you could go about structuring that lesson plan for that day. So for this particular day, which is day 1, week 1, first day at school, we're diving into German level 1. This particular pacing guide says, why don't you start your class by having some interviews, having a student interview. Ask them simple questions. What's your name? How old are you? Start to get them familiar with the vocabulary. Then it recommends that you go into the important vocabulary or the key structures for that first story, recommends that you do some more personalized questions and answers, and then fill out an exit ticket. You might not know what a personalized question and answer script yet is. That's okay. It's in the title. If I had 10 more minutes, I would show you. But this just gives you, as you can see, a general idea of how you could structure your lesson planning based off of the curriculum framework. Let me also quickly show you the scope and sequence in my last 60 seconds here. So again, you've got the themes, those essential questions for critical thinking up at the top, grammar that's going to be approached in that unit. So we're designed by unit. This is level 1, but split into units. And then all the vocabulary terms, all the structures. There's a lot in that one. Again, same thing, themes, what are the essential questions, grammar, and important structures. I think I've just made it in time. I'm going to go ahead and stop there so you guys can go back to any other sessions you need to get to at this time. I hope that was helpful. But again, please reach out to me, anyone on the team. Happy to answer any questions you have or talk more about the content.